Welcome back, folks. And Dwayne and I have just been conversing on what we're going to chat about.
You smell the popcorn. Somebody made popcorn while they were.
My word, it'd be nice if they'd share it.
That's right. I don't see you coming in here.
Boy. Dwayne, we might better talk about the affairs down in Memphis, Tennessee. This young man, Tyree Nichols, was stopped by the police and beaten to death by a special squad.
Called the Scorpion Squad.
Yes, who are a squad that reacts to violent problems, and they are paramilitary, and they are tough dudes. And they beat this kid senseless. 3 days later, he died.
Yep.
A sixth police officer has first of all, they were arrested and charged with murder,
Yep.
fired from the police force, and they identified another police officer that was there,
Yeah.
and he has been fired
Correct.
and indicted also for murder. You look at the pictures of what happened, and it is impossible to defend
Yeah.
their actions.
As far as police work goes, it's indefensible.
Yeah, it wasn't police work.
No.
It was murder.
Yeah.
Now, the young man that was murdered was black. And the 6 police officers that murdered him were black.
That turned into a conundrum.
But they are still calling this a racial murder.
I said, how are they going to connect this to racism? But they managed to do it.
Just by calling it racial.
And they said, well, these guys became racially insensitive because of racism against them years ago when they were in grade school and going to school. And it got to be, I thought it was ridiculous, but I don't see this thing as being racist. Have any race that happened to be a majority black city with majority black policemen and more majority black people, you're going to have majority black incidences.
And not only that, but like it or not, the crime rate in the black community is much higher than it is in the white community.
But we can't recognize this as a problem,
That's right.
Bill.
But it seems to me that if you monitor police calls, all right, that's a no-brainer.
Yep.
And 3 are to white families or involving white people, and 14 are black. How do you possibly come to any conclusion other than there's more problems here than there?
Yep.
Now, we don't have to get into what happened in their prior education or their job opportunities. There's real problems here, and I'm not glossing it over. What I'm saying is, numbers are numbers.
Yeah. Well, it's been recognized for a long time, but it's also been put under the rug for a long time.
It has.
I mean, remember old Koch, the mayor of,
Yeah.
he brought that out years and years ago about, I don't know, he had some FBI statistics like 80-some% of the murders committed in New York City were done by black people.
Yeah.
But he says the tragedy of it is they were killing black people.
That's right.
The biggest cause of death of a young black male is another young black male.
That's exactly right.
But when he brought that out, the whole country
They
went crazy.
ballistic, yeah.
But
Now-
it is what it is. Just if you don't recognize the problem, Bill, you can't fix it.
I think there's 2 problems here. Number one, I think the biggest problem is you and I have never been a black teenager living
Nope.
in the city.
Yeah.
and experienced
Oh, I'll grant
what
that
they experienced.
there is a experience factor that didn't have first.
I don't think we can even comprehend it.
Maybe I think I can got a good idea what it is, but I personally I don't have that personal feelings of it. That part I agree with you.
So we got that. And then the second part of the problem is we are saddled, like it or not, with police brutality.
Yep. Now, an organization like let's just at that Scorpion needs control a lot more than the traffic divisions going out that night to do the traffic, or the robbery group, who's ever on call.
Meter
That-
maids.
Yeah, or that group. We're just picking easy ones, but even the hardcore
Yeah, okay.
inner city cops, they as a group need to be controlled and disciplined very much right from the beginning. The military, as you remember, Bill, the military recognizes that. That's why you've got delineated line of command.
Absolutely.
Very, very tight, because the military is like you own a couple of tigers as pets. Well, that might be all right today, but you got to watch them. You got to keep control them, because they can go out of control very quick and very deadly. And an organization like that Scorpion seemed to be, and this is just what I observed and you observed, there didn't seem to be any control on them. There was whoever was in charge of that particular group. Who was in charge? You couldn't tell.
It's very easy for amped up
Oh, absolutely.
young men,
Yep.
muscular, aggressive, chosen because they were the toughest dudes they could find. It's mighty tough to keep them on the reservation.
Exactly.
It's mighty easy for them to go off the reservation
Yeah.
and do bad things.
Yeah, that's right. And I think
So
that's
you have to have tight control.
I think that's where that group went.
And
crazy.
that's why second lieutenants were, God created second
Yeah,
lieutenants.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for you folks that are non-military types, you get down to squad level, and what's the squad leader?
Yeah.
A second John.
Yep.
Yeah. So you've got non-commissioned officers, NCOs, sergeants of all different layers. You got officers, then above that, field grade officers.
Yep.
So the military does a much better job than civilians.
Oh yeah, because they're sort of, even the police department tries to be, but they're quasi-military.
That's right.
They're still not military.
Now, so in the Herald, Jeff Robbins writes a column. He's very liberal. And he talks about the outrageous killing of Tyree Nichols by Memphis police officers and the equally outrageous indifference to Nichols' suffering by firemen and emergency medical technicians. Not once in this entire article does he point out the police officers were black.
No, they won't. A lot of times they won't.
It's like he is denying part of this story.
Yep. Well, Globe is guilty of that too. If they're looking for anybody, say there's a heinous crime committed on MBTA, and they give a description of the person they're looking for, if they don't say what color he is, you know he's going to be black,
Oh, sure.
because they won't say it.
Yeah.
But if usually it's a white guy, 6'2", so many pounds, with a mustache. But if they don't give any race at all, you know it's black. So you're not really helping catching this guy by not.
It's sad. I have said I don't know how many hundreds of times. The happiest day of my life is when we stop saying black.
Yeah.
And stop saying Hispanic.
Yeah.
And stop saying Irish.
Or
We
female,
are
or
Americans.
Yeah.
All right? Beginning and the end of the story. And what one group of Americans is doing to another is a sin here in this case.
the problem that I see in this thing, the in Memphis thing, is that they're looking at the problem with shades on.
Tunnel vision.
Instead of saying this is a control problem, these are, like you said, the guy said, get out of control. You get like Al Sharpton gets in there, you get Jesse Jackson get in there, and all of a sudden the thing starts going towards racism again. That's not going to fix the problem there. The problem is, I don't care what police department you go across the country, if they've got organizations like this, if they're not controlling them, this is going to happen any place.
And you know, this is such a convoluted problem that I'm not sure there's any way out of this. I mean, you go back to a child being born into poverty.
Mm-hmm.
Child not going to early kindergarten because his mother is a teenager that doesn't know any better. And then the kid is being raised by a grandparent.
Yeah.
Eventually the kid gets into school. There's no family support for him to help him with his homework. Oh, I didn't understand this in school today, Mommy. Can you tell me what this is? And Mommy can't even read.
She don't know. Yeah.
And it goes up the ladder. And then it goes to job opportunities. Well, you're stuck inside a city. The jobs are out in the suburbs.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get this over here?
Yeah. You're right. But even at these groups, I think, and this is, it's not fair to Memphis because they may have done this, but I think the job of recruitment of these people into these high pressure reactionary squads has to be a lot better. I don't think that they have enough psychological screening, because you can't just let somebody go up through the ranks, because that takes a certain type of individual to control himself in situations that's constant. Every day they got something. You got to have a policeman there that if somebody walks up to him and spits him in the face, he may put the cuffs on, but he doesn't hit him with a club side of the head and beat the living hell out of him.
Yeah.
I'll bet you any one of those five guys would have, if anybody would have walked up and spit on him, they'd have beat the living hell out of him.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because they'd had that psychological makeup. And they're not the kind of people that should be in that kind of a job.
I'm the biggest and baddest
Well, that's
dude
right.
up
I
there.
am the biggest dude.
And you're not going to intimidate me, pal.
Exactly.
What are the other problems, too? Well, cheapers, creepers, we have more problems.
Oh, we got,
The blue wall of silence.
yeah, that's been
Yeah.
around for, that's,
And I don't know how you make that go away. The other thing, too, and I don't see this talked about much, but let's talk about it. A lot of the country has county police. They elect a sheriff.
oh yeah.
And the sheriff chooses his deputies. Well, first deputy chosen is my son, Ralphie.
Ralphie.
And
From the Simpsons.
and then, well, my cousin has two boys, so I got to put them on, make them deputy sheriffs. And the mayor's son needs a job, and you end up with 12 guys,
Yeah, none of them are qualified.
and not one of them is qualified.
That's right.
Hey, wait a minute. They went to state police school. Yeah, and the state cops sat there and read to them or worked with them or did some stuff with them and then kicked them out the door and said,
Right.
yeah, go be a policeman. So we got to train our police officers better.
Yeah.
We've got to choose them better.
Yeah,
You can't choose somebody's relative, and
Yeah.
yet It happens every single day.
There's nothing wrong with the county sheriff's department. They do a good job in most part of the country. We don't have that here.
Right.
We don't have a county government as such. But normally, because we don't have any county areas here, Massachusetts is kind of unique that each town butts up against the next town.
Yeah.
There's no space in between it.
Yeah, no open
Most
space.
of the country is the city or town limit stops, then it might be 10, 20 miles before the next one starts. So in between, you've got a lot of
No man's land.
no man's land. Yeah, I was going to say dead area, but it's not dead. It's a area that's got to be covered by somebody, and the county takes that over.
Yeah, it's different. It really is different. Is it worse? Well, I think the training is worse of the individual officers.
In the Midwest, where you got a lot of small towns, I would put it the other way around. I think the county sheriff's deputies are more attuned to technology, attuned to reaction, to handle something than some of these 850 people villages or towns, as they call them, or cities, as they call them. These guys got, Barney Fife and his brother-in-law. That's all they got.
Yeah. Well, regardless of who or where they came from or how they were chosen, we still got a lot of cops out there
Yeah.
that really probably not suited for the
That
job.
shouldn't be cops. You're right.
How do we fix that? Don't know,
Don't know.
but it's a problem.
Well,
And as long as you got politics, it's going to continue to be.
oh,
a problem.
absolutely. Look how many police departments we have. We got state, we got local, we got environmental police, we've got MBTA police, we've got a whole, every once in a while, MDC we used to have, I don't know if they
Yeah.
still have them, but we got all these divisions, they're all police organizations.
Yeah, quasi-military.
Yeah, I remember a year or so ago, I was going up 95, and this cop goes by me and it says, environmental police? I said, what the hell's an
Game warden.
Yeah, what the hell's an environmental police?
Yeah, and I mean, you've also got in Boston.
Oh, yeah.
You've got the Harvard University police,
all the-
Boston University police, the campus police for the hospitals.
That's
I mean,
right.
you got cops coming out your eyes.
Yep.
So I guess the problem is that we've got guys carrying a badge that probably shouldn't be.
Yeah. And I think the selection process probably should be upped.
Yep. And then again, so who
I know where you're going.
changes the rules?
Yeah.
The politicians have to change them, and they're
They're
the
the
ones
ones
that
that-
are benefiting from the whole
That's
thing.
right.
Yeah. Oh well, my
It's
son,
like a big circle going around,
Yeah. My son, I couldn't put him on my department,
But-
in the county, the next county over, I know old Fred over there, the sheriff, and he took care of my boy, and I took care of his. It's a conundrum.
Yep. But
I don't
we
know.
can see, we saw this can be deadly.
Yeah. Yep. Homelessness strains New England. Here's a big story from the Wall Street Journal.
Oh,
And you say to yourself, so it's straining New England. My. How about the people in Texas and Arizona and California?
they're not the hub.
That have been living with this problem for the past how many years?
Oh, a long time.
A long time is right. This isn't a new problem down there. So they're bemoaning the fact that they don't have enough housing up in Maine. And the governor, she built about 1,600 affordable houses to put homeless in
Okay.
the downtrodden inn,
Mm-hmm.
she said, really, I need 20 to 25,000 units. Well, my only comment to that is, if Maine were to build 20 to 25,000 living units, they'd be faced with an influx of homeless from all the states around to get up there and get one of them while the getting was good. Maine is building them like crazy. So you'd have people from New Jersey, New York,
Oh, yeah.
South Carolina. It would be like Central Americans coming to the Mexican border to get in.
Mm-hmm.
This is a national program, a national problem
National problem.
that has to be addressed
Yeah.
on a national level. To do it over here and out, because you're trying as a state to do the right thing, and all of a sudden you get these people coming over, this will never end. I mean, if you build more will come. Then what happens? Well, more are coming up from Central America.
Yeah.
If we don't adopt oh, by the way, let me stop right there. So the president said in the State of the Union message, we have a problem in this country, immigration and border control, and Congress has got to step up and do their part. And they got to step up and give us the funding to secure the border. We've been hearing for 2 years that the border is secure.
No,
President Biden said it numerous times.
At the beginning, he did. And it was just crazy.
Yeah.
But this problem is surmountable. It's just going to take a little different thinking. But we don't want to do that in this country. Europe now has done a lot of this. Here is an article. America is running out of working age adults. The essence was, it wasn't too many years ago, there was 5.5 people for every open job.
Yep.
Today, there's 2.1 jobs open for every worker.
Yeah.
And then the workers, when your pool gets that low, the stuff that the people you're pulling out of that pool are not your primary.
Exactly overachievers.
You're not your overachievers. That's right. We got all these people that want to come in, and we got all these jobs that we want to fill, but we can't come up with a way to A to B and B to A and solve it. Germany could. Spain could. France can.
The first thing we've got to do, and of course you can't do that because the squad will start screaming, is you have got to finish the wall and close the border.
Yeah, and then let them come in an orderly thing. We need.
Legal immigration.
Yeah.
All right? And as much as Biden wants to have, Biden knows he's not that stupid that he doesn't understand
Oh, no,
what's
he
going on down
understands.
there. He knows the solution is the wall.
Mm-hmm.
He wants Congress to do it. He does not want to
Of course
do it.
not. He doesn't want to be attached to that.
And he will very reluctantly sign it rather than veto it because we're in a crisis. He now admits there's a crisis at the border. Isn't that good, huh? Two years plus, and he's got it figured out now.
Well, he did the same thing with fuel.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was no more drilling, no more this, no more that. And
Yeah.
all the greenies stood up and cheered and yelled, and now we got ourselves into a crisis now with Russian oil and everything else. And now, of course, he's encouraging drilling.
You know what the whole thing is we still are not articulating the problem. Let's just say this room is the country.
Okay.
And if we open up over here for oil exploration. And ExxonMobil goes in there and hits a big patch. And we pump it up. Well, we get a problem then. How do we get it to the refineries? Oh, pipelines? Oh, we don't want any more pipelines. The environmentalists don't want them. Oh, yeah. So, eventually we have to fight this fight about the pipelines. Then we get them to the refineries. The refineries are operating over capacity right now.
Right now.
There is nothing we can do with this excess oil that they're going to pull up, whether it's from Texas, Oklahoma, or whether they find new stuff up in Alaska. They're still going to bring it down here to refine it.
But the bottom line, it's not going to make any income. It's going into the whirlpool anyway. We don't, people, I've heard people say, well, we got enough oil ourselves, we should be independent. We're not. We are not independent on anything. This is a global commodity. If we get a big strike here, that we say we got this magnificent gusher that we can't handle it all. That doesn't mean we're going to get cheap oil out of it. It's just going to go into the world market.
Look at the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah.
How many of those drilling platforms are capped right now?
Oh yeah. A lot of them.
I mean, there's still plenty of oil that can go to the refineries.
Oh, sure.
But the Biden administration has stopped the pipelines.
Yeah.
No, you can't put in new pipelines.
That's the problem with stopping a pipeline, is that you can't just start it again. They take years and years to build, to maintain. And in the meantime, you got to resort to things like East Palestine, Ohio, right now. It's not oil, but it's hazardous chemicals. But it could be oil. You could have. Yeah. We've had accidents like train accidents like that. We've had several of them coming out of Canada. It's crazy not to have a pipeline, but see, the reason they don't have pipelines is because that would bring in more fossil fuels. And these people, fossil fuels is just like saying dog poop to them.
Yep.
That is just the worst thing you could possibly have.
On the path to get rid of them.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
You people are going to start us back on fossil fuels again. Oh my, I wish I had hair that I could pull out.
But I agree, it's going to be a time where fossil fuels are not as dominant as they are.
That's right.
But it's not today yet. It's the kind of thing you can't shut that off and just walk away from it.
It's interesting.
We're too damn independent, or too damn dependent on fossil fuels now. It's not just fuel. These people don't realize it's everything. It's plastics, it's chemicals, it's medicines, it goes on and on and on.
You name it. I mean, petroleum is used for so many things other than driving,
putting gas in your car.
Yeah.
But they don't seem to realize it. But the industry does.
Oh, sure.
Because this last bid that went up on the
Alaska.
With the slope, you got Purdue Bay here to the right of Purdue. They opened up this big thing. The last time not this time, but the last time they bid, it was like $700 or $800 billion worth of bids. This time they had 15 million or 12. Nobody was interested. They all went, no, I'm not bidding on it. I'm not bidding. Maybe I had one low bidder someplace on this plot. Because the industry recognizes that the time is coming. Not today and not tomorrow. But when you bid on a plot like that, say you're Crane Oil Company, you're not expecting anything to happen here for another 25 years. Time you get the lease, or not the lease, whatever, deed, or the right.
Yeah.
You do your exploration, you do all the studies, everything else, then the drilling, and years and years and years are going to go by. Well, they're going to recognize the time this oil comes to market, the way the thing's going, we may only need 20% of our oil. So they're not going to spend a lot of money doing it.
You got to realize that the people that bring oil up out of the ground have got to amortize that well over 15 or 20 years to get payback. Well, if we keep going the way we're going with left-wing nuts in Washington, in 8 or 10 years, they may just pass a law and say, no more fossil fuels starting next week.
Yeah.
And what the hell do they do with that investment?
Then you're stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll just pump it and we'll send it to China, I guess. Oh, yeah, China will be willing to pay $3 a barrel for it. Yeah, that'll be great. Now, you really wonder. Dwayne, I got another problem.
But you got
They've
too-
been
you got too much-
investigating, Boston University has been investigating CTE with football players.
Yep.
91.7% of the NFL players that they have investigated their brains,
Are showing signs.
signs, yeah. Are we eventually, all right, let's put it another way. Would you have your son play football knowing what you know in high school?
Today?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's the way I feel too.
Then, probably.
Yeah.
Today,
It'll be
no.
up to him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But these
Today,
guys,
no.
these guys that force their kids to play football. Well, you know, I played football, and then they want to relive their life through their kids, you know. But leave it up to the kids. I don't know. Most of them would prefer to play soccer, I think. Football's a great game.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful sport to watch. If only they didn't get hurt playing it.
Mm-hmm. I got 2 grandkids that play soccer or hockey, so I'm kind of on the fence sometimes with that too. But
Yeah.
that's not my say. So.
It's tough, but it would seem to me that at some point in time, I think the federal government's going to get involved in this.
I think you're totally right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? When the government gets involved, it's not always a good thing, not always a good outcome at all.
You don't want the government in any of your business.
Okay. I got the one I was saving is an interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
Farms become U.S.-China hot point, flashpoint.
Yep.
China owns 157 top states for Chinese agricultural land holdings. Texas, 157,000 acres. North Carolina, 49,000. Missouri, 42,000. Utah, 34,000. Then it drops off like
Yeah.
a rock. They are buying farmland around military installations
Yep.
or other critical areas where they can get information. Do you? The mayor of Grand Forks, South Dakota, oh, that's North Dakota, Grand Forks is in North Dakota, is fighting the Chinese buying a large tract of cornfields. But yet, we get this thing called free enterprise. Is it in our best interest to stop China from buying real estate in this country?
Yes.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
It's crazy to sell it to a foreign entity.
Absolutely. By the way, do you know which country holds the most in millions of acres?
No.
Canada.
Canada? Okay.
Then the Netherlands, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Then it's Italy, UK, and then it's just as the regular cast of characters. But I don't know why this should be a problem. The last time I checked, U.S. companies can't buy property in
I was
China.
just going to say, you can't go over to China and buy a
Yeah. Or
know,
put up a building, buy land and put up a
nothing.
building.
No. You can't even put your factory there unless you share your corporate secrets with it.
Yeah,
With 'em.
exactly. Exactly. And that brings us to TikTok.
But yeah, that's another. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. I mean, TikTok picks up all this extraneous information from their subscribers, more than you could possibly imagine.
Oh,
And where does it all go? Back
CCP.
to
Yep.
the country, back to the homeland, where they put it into a data bank and start coming up with all sorts of
Sure.
information about us.
But
I don't-
we let them do it here, but we won't. We can't do it there. And there's no reason that we should do it there anyway. When there's no reason they should be doing it here. It bothered me when Smithfield Meatpacking
Okay,
sold
yes.
to the Chinese. You know,
That should never have been allowed.
that had never been allowed.
I mean, granted, yeah, that they really want pork,
Yeah,
all right, and that would be more economical to them to have a plant in this country, and maybe they did it just for humanitarian need.
maybe, but I
But
don't.
I don't trust them.
I don't
worth a
trust 'em.
Damn,
You're a
and-
fool to trust them.
that's right.
You're a fool to trust a bunch of countries.
That's exactly right. And so this brings up another point too, and that is a letter to the editor in the Wall Street Journal. And I'm going to skip.
Okay.
So, I am a resident of Iowa, formerly known for oceans of tall corn that now have been eclipsed by forests of tall turbines.
Yep.
So my sympathies are with the resistors. Whenever I see these monstrosities, two things come to mind: the tremendous number of birds killed in collisions and the great amount of land area required. If only we took a tiny fraction of that land and put down a nuclear reactor. No carbon, no dead birds, far less site pollution, and clean energy 24/7, regardless of weather conditions. John Crowley from Des Moines, Iowa. Makes a lot of sense.
Well, good luck with it.
Yep, ain't gonna happen.
Ain't gonna happen.
Nope. Now, remember what Ted Kennedy said about the wind farms. I don't want them out there.
I can see them.
That's right. I boat out there. I go yachting out there.
And when I said on my veranda of my $12 billion house, I don't want to see a windmill on the horizon.
So they didn't put wind farms out there. Put them someplace else, though.
Oh, somebody said if if Cape Wind would have been proposed off New Jersey, he'd have been the biggest cheerleader for it.
Yep.
He is such a hypocrite.
Unbelievable. Do you think there's any luck, any choice, any chance, Billy, try to talk English, that we can stop the Chinese from buying in this country?
Unless we elect another Ronald Reagan.
Well, there's going to be an election coming up soon, sooner than we think, sooner than we're going to be dreading it, but it's going to be coming. I think that could be an issue.
Well, I hope it is.
Yeah.
I don't like to see our assets being bought up by foreign entities.
It is at some point in time. What if they start becoming citizens and start voting?
Absolutely.
Well, you know, it was bound to happen.
You're just sowing your seeds of self-destruction. You're sowing your own seeds of destruction in there.
Yeah.
And I know some things you can't stop. You know, they bought Volvo.
Yeah.
Well, that's nothing to do with us. That's somebody in Sweden. But so be it. But I would never let them buy an automotive company, you know, or Caterpillar or anybody like that.
John Deere.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, not only that, but look at some of the big defense contractors. Look at Boeing. Would
Yep.
we allow a sale of Boeing to go through? Yeah, I mean, they make all kinds of missile systems, all kinds of planes.
It doesn't even have to be the whole entity. It can be a part.
Yeah.
Say they wanted to buy Caterpillar. We said no. But they buy ABC company that makes the left-wing gizmos that go into all these things that without them you can't run.
Right.
And they decide, well, I don't like you anymore. I'm not going to ship anymore.
Yeah.
Well, we say, all right, well, we can make it ourselves, but it's going to take us 3 or 4 years. In the meantime, you got your whole construction and everything else just comes to a halt. That's a hell of a control over a country.
Yeah. 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 And we're doing somewhat that by trying the oil embargo against Russia and different other things. We're hurting Russia economically, but it's not exactly bringing them to their knees.
That's one of our few weapons that we can use with China. Their economy is based on what we buy from them. We are their biggest trader with them. We are their biggest customer by far. And you take us and a couple of allies and we start buying less and less from China and either making it ourselves or find diverse supplies, they're going to feel it.
Sure. And we should do that.
That's right.
We should not play
Yep.
Sam the Sap much
That's
longer.
right. Look what happened with the pandemic.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you couldn't buy a mask anymore because they were
Yeah.
all made in
Yeah.
China, and China just says, no, we're not shipping it anymore.
Baby food,
Baby food,
Yeah.
another one, yeah.
Pampers, and
Yep.
stuff like that. Oh, it comes from China. Yeah.
Well, we got short memories, Bill.
Yeah, we do.
We got very short memories.
Going back to the policing issue again here, I found another article. This is written by Jerry Baker,
15, Bill.
who is the retired editor of the Wall Street Journal. Brilliant guy. He's on TV. He's on Fox Financial. In his article about Tyra's death raises hard questions about race in policing. The police do a courageous and indispensable job in protecting the rest of us. They deserve our unstinting support, but we also have a right to expect accountability when things go badly wrong. In Memphis, it seems many things, police recruitment, training, and supervision, may have helped to produce the grotesque outcome. Memphis is unlikely to be alone. And he also does speak over here, too. This in itself, of course, doesn't prove some wider social or systemic racism that this lad was shot by black guys. The problem, as well documented in studies of police shootings, is that young black men are disproportionately more likely to be involved in serious crime and encounters with the police than are other demographics. This inevitably results in a greater suspicion in the mind of police officers and the rest of us that a young black man may pose a greater risk. Finally, he said the most disturbing part in what happens when, the depravity of the cops doing the beating is hard to watch and almost impossible to fathom. Nichols is treated as an object, a punching bag. He is in this moment dehumanized in the way we have seen countless victims of official violence dehumanized through history. And the uncomfortable thought surfaces, is this dehumanization something that the mind does more easily when the object is a black man? Fixing the deep social problems that result in higher crime rates and sometimes tragic encounters with police among blacks is a continuing task for policymakers, but fixing it in our own minds, of blacks and whites alike, lingering stereotypes of particular demographics is an urgent task for all of us.
True.
This guy is so eloquent
Yep.
in his use of the English language, and he usually nails it spot on. And that leads into rogue police officers must be held accountable. Now, how in the devil do we do that? And it
Well-
repeats some of the things that Jerry Baker said. But he does say this. Now, this guy is a retired lieutenant in a police department and is past chairman of the National Association of Black Law Enforcement Officers. As members of one of the nation's oldest professions, we can no longer allow inappropriate or illegal actions of law enforcement to go unpunished and unaccountable. As a member of a profession that by its very mandate is required to protect and serve, we must ensure that those among us who transgress are stripped of their anonymity and ousted in the most public fashion possible. We must stop the hiring of only slightly qualified people, just because they are part of a legacy within the agency. We must end the practice of training new officers to be warriors instead of guardians. We must ensure that if supervisors do not properly instruct their subordinates, they lose their authority, and we must change the way we manage and the policy set forth. And it goes on in that vein.
You know,
This is a big problem.
of course it is. But I think some departments, I think, are better at controlling their police departments than others.
I agree.
Take a look at two of the biggest. Used to have a lot of more problems, unless it's a reporting. Let's just assume it's not, because reporting today is probably more than it was in those days. In those days, it was something about the cop. They'd bury that. You know. Well, today they look for things like that.
Reporting, though, tends to be looking in the rearview mirror.
Yes, of
not
course.
looking forward.
It's always reactive.
Yeah.
We can't report the future.
Yeah, that's it.
But take New York City and L.A.
Yeah.
There are two groups, 10 minutes. There are two groups that could have daily scandals, both of them. But they seem to have cleaned they're never, I mean, New York City's got, what, 60,000 cops or some damn
They
thing
get a
like
lot.
that. But you're going to have some problems there.
Sure.
But it doesn't seem to be proportionate to some of these cities with 150,000 people.
Perfect example of that is when you talk about Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Just go north up to Oakland.
Yeah, exactly.
There is a city in total chaos
Yeah.
with their police department.
I think L.A., Rodney King scared them.
Yes.
And they just said, all right, no more. We're gonna take tight control. And I'm not sure what. I think there was some various police people in New York that wised up.
Rudy Giuliani.
Yeah, well, sure.
Yeah.
But
You know, Rodney King said something I'll never forget. Why can't we all
just get along. Yeah.
Why can't we?
That's
Yeah.
what's true.
And shame on us for not being able to get along.
But you know, and the both sides, the agitators don't help. In fact, they really. I mean,
You're right.
as soon as Al Sharpton walks in, it's like pouring gasoline on the fire.
As soon as Al Sharpton walks in, I shut the TV off.
Yeah, because he's a professional racist.
Yeah. and a liar.
Yeah, oh, it doesn't matter. There's
The
no
Warner Bradley
there's no-
thing.
yeah,
I mean,
there's no
or-
ethics with him.
no. I mean, it's
Well, don't forget, he and Jesse Jackson, they make their living with racism.
Yeah.
If racism was to disappear, they would disappear.
yeah, yeah. That's
And
how-
they're not the only two, but there are two that I
Can
can.
you imagine Al Sharpton being a regular on TV?
Oh my God!
And the Reverend
Oh, yeah.
Al Sharpton. Wow.
You know what? Somebody asked me about his credentials. I've always been a reverend since I was 4 years old.
Yeah.
It's
I
just,
was anointed.
yeah, it's self-made.
I'll tell you.
Just like they call me bishop. I understand you're going to be a cardinal.
Yeah. I'm just kind of looking for one thing here that I got so many little notes here. Here's something. Okay. I found what I was looking for,
Okay.
so we're in good shape.
Good.
I wrote this real quick. If I were president, we could have stated the balloon was a potential hazard to commercial aviation traffic, and also could be a very well disguised spy vehicle. But in either case, it's an invasion of our airspace, and we've taken it down. We needed to just do it and not announce we will do it, and then wait for a day or two before doing it. The Chinese and the Russians must be laughing themselves silly watching us do it. Do you say to a bully, I'm going to punch you in a day or two?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
No.
put out a narrative and just say,
Get it a hell
could
out
be
of
a spy thing. It could also bother commercial air traffic. Bang, down it comes.
Well, you know damn well it was not put up there to study atmospheric conditions.
Yeah.
Because that would be an internet. If you were going to put a balloon up like that to do that, the first thing you'd tell is everybody in the world, we've got this thing that go up here. It's going to follow the jet stream, so it's going to be over your country this day, and it's going to go here. It's going to go. They can predict where the hell it's going, but they didn't.
No,
Everything was secret.
that's right.
What's so secret about a weather study? And
It's amazing.
it was just nuts. And then, of course,
They're
no-
a closed society, though.
yeah.
No one can let that stuff out.
But now you got Trump administration and Biden administration, both of them were, well, we didn't know 3 or 4 years ago. Esper says it never came to the Department of Defense that with the sightings were there. And I don't think he's going to lie. You know, it would be to cover your ass. But I just don't see, I think that somebody would have leaked it out 3 years ago or 4 years ago.
Would think. But
Because
then again, it would have been such a minor thing 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
That if they said, "Hey, keep that under your hat," they may well have kept
They
it
might
under
have.
their hat. You know.
But
I mean, so what? A weather balloon, big deal.
But those kind of things are people say, well, if it's just, so what? Well, so what? Those things can do a lot of damage to your defenses. Not in itself, but a lot of times you make a thrust into somebody else's territory, you're not really going to thrust it. You want to see what his reaction is. When these guys, like we do it too, we'll fly a 5, we'll fly a mission right up to the edge because we want to see how long does it take them to scramble.
Friend of mine was in Air Force intelligence, okay? And he was in Germany, and he would listen
Oh,
to right on the Czech border, and we'd fly an AWAC
yep.
right along the border, and underneath it, a jet fighter, and then rum into Czechoslovakia, and then rum back out again.
Yep.
He said it was amazing to listen to the radar operators, the
Yeah.
Russian radar operators.
What's their
Try-
reaction?
Did you see that? No, you on the vodka again. Well, oh yeah, or they would just never see it. So we were always probing for the
Yeah,
holes in their radar.
Not the whole, but just see the reaction time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
How long do we have before they'll blow us out of the air?
It was 10 minutes in and out.
Yeah.
And it took them 15 to scramble somebody to get in a plane.
Now they've sent these bus-sized balloons over to the thing, and nobody reacted to it. They said, well, what the hell?
Ay, ay, ay. But that's life in the fast lane.
Yep.
Hey, by the way, in downtown Chicago, 20% of the stores have been shut down due to high crime.
Oh, yeah, I read that, something
Yeah.
like that, too. Okay, 2, William.
In
2.
And in Chicago, year over year, they've had a 26.5% increase in crime.
No.
Um,
Well, you got such strong leadership there.
yeah. And she's not going to run for re-election, I think.
Gee, what a shame.
Yeah. One last thing, and we'll put this baby to bed. Honesty is the best policy. I was always told that. Is this true?
Well,
I wonder what a poll of U.S. citizens would say to that. Is honesty the best policy?
with a couple caveats. But,
Oh, okay. So there's going to be some ifs and ands and
there has
buts?
to be. Would you sit in your living room and Sue walked out dressed in the godliest looking new dress that she just bought, and it's just hideous. She'd say, "What do you think it is?" Are you going to say, "That's the ugliest damn dress I ever saw"?
I would probably say, oh, yeah, it's fine.
It's interesting. Yeah. You know, that's a caveat. Or if you're playing poker, somebody says, "What do you got?" I ain't got nothing.
We have just enough time for this.
All right.
I came home from work.
Yeah.
Now, Patrick, you know Patrick,
Yeah, of
he's a
course.
little scamp. So Patrick, Susie had a parent-teacher meeting over Patrick being a little
Okay, I can see.
monkey. So it was scheduled at 4 o'clock. So I came home at 5:30 from work, sat down, we ate supper, and just, you know, everything, house boys, pass the butter, and so I said, well, listen, Suze, enough of this. How did everything go at the meeting? She says, what the hell do you think I've been talking to you about for the last 5 minutes? You don't listen to a word I say, you moron. And then she went to using bad words and calling me bad names.
Well, probably you deserved it.
Honest to God, I never heard a word she was saying. So, you know, we blank out some stuff. The question about the new dress would be blanked out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a dandy, honey.
Yeah. Well, you just change the subject.
Yeah, just keep on tap
So
dancing.
they say discretion's the better part of valor.
That's it. Yeah. Well, looks like we have run out of stuff to talk about. Well, we haven't. We still got a
Well,
mountain
we
of
got a
stuff
pile
to
of
talk
stuff.
about.
We just
And we will talk about it next time. So, folks, listen, have a great couple of weeks.
Yep.
Stay
long range weather
warm.
forecast looks good.
Yep. 58 tomorrow, by Friday, I think.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I don't hear anybody complaining about a warm winter.
No. So, on that note, be well, and we'll see you next time.
Be safe.
That's it.
Bye bye.